Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Life on the Hulls, and a couple of weeks after launch, whew, we needed to take a bit of a rest. You know, Janet and I have hit a wall and we've basically stepped back just a touch from the boat. We needed to get away from it a little bit, and we still kept coming down, and we were adjusting to the whole new way of life of getting things down to the boat, bring things home that don't need to be here. And yeah, it was an interesting time, isn't it?
Yeah, we were definitely wrecked.
Yep, for sure.
So sometimes our brains weren't working as well as they could have done. But anyway, we did our best.
Yeah, so this episode basically was a lot of bits and pieces and how we solved a couple of those problems. And the other thing you'll notice too is the noise of cicadas in the background. Cicadas, or cicadas we call them here. Bit different to the mechanics yelling out to me and their air guns blasting all day long. Is now we've got that persistent natural sound of cicadas. Sounded pretty great to me, but when I went to edit it, it is actually pretty pervasive throughout the video, and I tried to denoise a lot of that. So good luck, hang in there, and let's get into it. You could be forgiven for thinking, what in hell could he possibly have to do to finish his boat? Well, because of the rush to get out and Janet and Zach's premature conspiracy against me to set a date for launch, and to be honest, it really got me moving. I have to be honest, the last 2 months was just ballistic. You know, 6 a.m. starts, and often I was coming home at 11, 12 at night, and honestly, it just killed me. And I'm 2 weeks on, I'm still getting over that run-up. But there's millions of things to do today. Janet's coming down. We're going to waterproof all the leaks, and that is going to include the stanchion bases here. For these smaller stanchion bases for the hard top need to be screwed through. Yesterday I came down and I've actually Sikaflexed them in and created a nice gasket here, and now I can drill through. Now I have a base plate to put underneath, and the other thing I had to do underneath was put a textured surround around it, because I've actually got the roof lining goes up around it and fits around the actual base, so that we can have access to the screws. Other things that need to be done is these port lights here. They're only ever been sat in place. So the other day we had a massive storm, came in, there's water on the bed base there, and there's no mattresses in there now, so they need to be installed correctly. In my wisdom, a long time ago when I built this hardtop, I decided to put some rain gutter rails along the sides with which to catch the water, or at least to run it towards the front of the boat so it's not peeling over the side. Now, that's worked a treat, but I do have a bit of an issue. I left, and sort of deliberately left it there because I was not sure how I was going to deal with it. I left an area here, and as you can see, the water's running down here and pooling here, and we're getting a good 1.5 inches of water pooling here, and that's creating a problem because then it overflows onto the helm seat. So I've bought a skin fitting. I was actually going to put a tap type fitting here, but the problem with those is they're actually a domed skin fitting. The problem with those is they're quite raised. This one's almost flush, and it will deal with 90% of the water that goes in here. I intend to have a hose. This will protrude down, and there'll be a hose that runs down this, and I'll be able to run the water away. And secondly, I'll be able to, once that salty water runs away, I'll be able to catch fresh water for things like washing and you know, rinsing and the like. So there's a method to the madness. I do need to drill a hole through here though. That's going to be a bit of an ordeal, and also I need to core it because it's 30mm foam here. I need to make sure that I get the epoxy in there. It looks like rain today, but I'm going to try to seal it, at least get the epoxy in early, and that way I can make sure that it's cored and sealed. Every single hole in this boat has been cored correctly to avoid any sort of delamination of the foam. Alright, our stern cabin port lights were never installed properly. They were only ever screwed in place because they were out of the weather, but since we've had some weather, guess what? They're actually proving themselves to be in the weather. So I'm in here just screwing them together. Now this is only about 8mm thick because it's solid glass, this wall here. And the rim requires some very short screws. So first things first, I've actually Sikaflexed the outside rim to the wall outside, and Janet's out there holding it tight while I get this rim in place. And then what I'll do is I'll come back once it's set, I'll unscrew it, and then I'll do the final sealing around the inside as well, so just to make sure that I get a good seal all the way around it. The other thing you've got to consider here is I'm putting stainless screws into aluminium, so I'll need to put some Tef gel or some sort of a insulator in between them so they don't corrode with the dissimilar metals. Push hard, Dom. Righto, so we are still trying to waterproof all the leaks in the boat. Did you just get cigar flakes on your pants? Yeah, that's what it is. Well, you shouldn't have worn them on the boat. You should know better than that. Boat work is dirty work. Alright, so we're waterproofing all of these nuts and bolts because we never got them finished. We did have some cigar flakes in it, but it wasn't enough, so it wasn't done properly. And then inside, more importantly, in preparation for it, what I've actually done is I've actually put a textured surround around the mount, and then I've got the stainless plate which I'm putting underneath, and that actually will then have the lining, the roof lining will be inside of that texture, so thereby hiding the raw fiberglass. So there's a bit of work being done here. Now we're gluing these in with the Sikaflex and sealing it from the inside as well as the outside. Two-man job, isn't it?
It is. I stand around a lot, but you do need me.
It's the only way to get the Phillips head screw lines aligned north-south. It annoys Janet no end, my fascination with it. Pretty impressed, ain't you?
I'm used to it now.
At least you've got a good view now.
Yeah, exactly.
Not looking at the boys going, let's go, man. That is worth $1 million to me, to not have that annoying me anymore. I've got other people dropping in here all the time, but it's actually nice not to have the guys calling at me all the time. A bit more of a relaxed Janet these days, isn't it? How many swims you had today? 2?
Same amount as you.
Yeah, no, I've had 3. Productivity definitely down and enjoyment level up. That was the whole idea, wasn't it? But we're sort of working through a couple of the leakage problems, which is working out really well. We've sealed the port lights on the cockpit here. We've done the uprights for the hard top here, which are basically down into here, and we've put in a drain to get rid of any excess water, and it's just started raining again, and at the moment it's going down onto the floor, but ultimately it will be a different coloured hose because the black's not great, and probably a tap down here so we can fill jerry cans and get some extra fresh water when we need it. Righto, we woke up this morning and we had a message from a guy. We asked about a tender up in the Central Coast, which is about 5 hours drive from here. So Janet, in her wisdom, what we do?
In my wisdom,
yeah,
we decided to go and buy it.
And the reason why we had to buy it is the little tender we had, and I'll just show you it. There's like a little rubber ducky, and yeah, I almost sunk it with a brand new motor on the back of it because, yeah, it had about 1 inch of freeboard with 2 of us in it, and even less in a high wind with just 1 of us in it. So we needed a temporary solution before we get around to building another tender. So we went and bought this. It's a Mercury 2.8 metre. It's a second handy, but what do you get for 800 bucks? I mean, these days, at least it's a solid floor and solid hull. It's actually a fiberglass hull, but it'll get us through, and then we'll probably on-sell it at some stage. It's got a few gel coat repairs required, but it was reasonably cheap. We were going to take a trailer, but I reckon chucking it on the roof rack was a much better solution. We did actually ask Jace across the road, who has a little boat trailer, and he rang me back and he said, oh, I haven't driven it for 4 or 5 years, and I'm not really sure the wheel bearings will handle the trip. I didn't want them seizing up on us. So poor old Daniel that we bought it off, he didn't think we'd get it on the roof rack, but we did. And yeah, we've just driven the 5 hours home, and we've just got home and we're absolutely wrecked. Not much videoing this week, but this is the daily commute. I feel like I'm moved out. Got vacuum, battery chargers, MPPT controllers, gloves, cups, everything that was left on the boat, even my pillows in the garbage bag there, heaps of rubbish, boxes. Hey Janet. Hello Lexi. So the canoe, well, it's got hair on it when you fill it up like that. So Janet and I went yesterday and bought a tender, second-hand tender to get us by until I built the foam core tender. And we also bought a folding trailer this morning. I had to go almost back to Sydney this morning to get the trailer. 2 weeks after we launched, exactly to the day, and I'm back at the factory. I've got to come back sort of 3 or 4 times a week. I'm trying to do as much work on the boat as I can. It's a bit hard to film because I'm sort of doing a lot of small catch-up stuff, particularly stopping leaks for all the areas that I didn't quite get finished. But today I have to fix the gate down here at the factory. It's been sitting there waiting for me to come and re-weld it. So I'll get it all sorted out now, and then the boys will be happy, because the gate's a little bit hard to open at the moment, and I did promise them I'd get it done in the first couple of weeks. So that's one of the first jobs. I've got a lot of other stuff to clean up. The remnants of the day indeed is here. So this is all my next project, is to get rid of all of this crap I've got here. I've got a lot of fencing, and there's a lot of good usable stuff here, acra props and timber and stuff, but the molds have got to go, and I've still got the obligatory staircase that still has to be dealt with. I've got interim back here. It's going to go up for sale, which is pretty cool. And then down here, it didn't take the buggers long to take my bloody spot, did it? Look, they've already filled it with cars and the like. I've still got a little bit of work to do down here. We've got the big container shelter here, all in a big pile. It's going to have to go. I'll get it all sorted out. And I did actually sell it to a local businessman here, and he's a busy guy, but he has not been around, and I don't like not being paid for stuff, so he's not going to get it. I'm going to put it up for sale again. And then the moulds there in amongst the jungle there. So that's pretty much my next couple of months, is going to be working on the boat, getting rid of all this crap, and fulfilling my obligations to the landlord. One of the things we didn't really discuss throughout the build was how generous our landlord was. Pete Robinson, good old mate of mine. In fact, I've been a landlord for a long, long time. I've known Pete for, God, nearly 30 years, I think, and his partner, Kim, in the business here, in the property here, were gracious enough to let me build the boat here. And I did actually ask for permission, and you'd always do that, but certainly it was getting a little bit tired, the fact that I wasn't getting it finished. So that's one of the reasons why we did expedite the move. And it's been such a win for me to get it out of the garage here, and for the guys to get their space that they can just fill up with shitbox old cars and crappy bloody broken down vehicles and excavators and the like. But, you know, it's given them so much more space. My job now is just to get rid of that stuff, and my commitment's over. I will be continuing along with keeping the factory here that I rent, and the reason I'm going to keep that is I'm intending to do some small boat repairs, and who knows, I might get back into the composites work, because I really don't want to retire yet. Janet's fully retired. She basically is just doing this for fun. Yeah, it wasn't real fun. Actually, it was very much fun. It was fun working together, and I love working with Janet. She did actually say to me when I sold our business about 10 years ago, she'd never work with me again. But this is very different. It was a very different outcome and a very different procedure here, where I was the boss and Janet just was the worker. Oh, don't say that too loud, or I'll get into huge trouble. But she basically took the fiberglass on with a plumb, and I'm so impressed. Her skills were right up there with any lammy that I've worked with, and I was so happy to have her along, because we shared the dream of getting the boat on the water, and she's on the water now, and I spent all day there today. It's a 35-degree day today, so I'm here. It's about almost 7 o'clock, and I'm about to weld up this gate because I don't want to do it in the heat of the day. Well, consider that done. That took about 10 minutes to nail that. I've been putting that off for weeks. I should have just come up and done it straight away. But anyway, it's done. It's all welded back together. Strong as houses, and all aligned. So, well, sort of aligned. It's as good as it ever was before the guys over at Hobie backed a trailer into it and destroyed it. But anyway, it's certainly working better, and the guys can stop complaining. The kids are coming home again. Zach and Ellen are only here 3 weeks ago, and they're coming home again, and Sam and Vaughn are coming down, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time on the boat. I mean, it's not going to be finished. I don't think it's ever going to be finished. But the great thing is I've got a most important job happening.
Delco off the back, yeah.
Even better, I'm not doing it. And we've had a really big clean session on here, and I'm almost there. We've gotten all of the resin and crap that we dropped, and just to show you how tedious this can be and how important and how valuable my wife is to me. We've got Janet here with what we call the Woody, which is my favourite tool. I've had it since my dad passed away. I've actually had it longer than that, but it is one of Dad's. And it is great for chipping away any little bits of resin that might be present in our anti-slip without damaging the rest of the anti-slip. And then Janet's hitting
my favourite too.
It is amazing. It's mine too. So if it gets lost, there is a death penalty for stealing my Woody or losing it. And the acetone wash is so important as well. We'll give it a quick acetone wipe, and then we come back and do a deck clean eventually after that. Now Janet's already polished up the back here, and this looks absolutely amazing. How good are sugar scoops? They are the best sugar scoops. They are. I reckon they're the best ones in the world. I love, maybe not the world, but they're pretty cool. They were worth the 6 months of toil and strife, at least probably more. It took me a year to do them. But anyway.
I reckon it took you a year.
Yeah, at least a year. It took me a year to do every bit. There's only 7 bits. Anyway.
It's early without modifications, but I love the modifications.
The modifications slowed us up, but
I just said that.
now we're really enjoying the benefits, and Janet's finally come round. Finally. But what'd you cut that off for? Well, it was the helm station for you. What'd you cut the back of the motor for? It was for the sugar scoops for you to sunbake on.
I said, well, let's be honest. The modifications were becoming addictive, and I did have to put a halt to them eventually.
What can I say? I'm a creator.
The sugar scoops, the helm I love you for, as is everyone else who gets on it.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
a couple of people made comments about the hardtop, but I love it, and if you're in the Australian sun, unless you want to die of melanoma, it's a really good thing to have.
Yep, bloody oath.
Yeah.
Bloody oath. All right, let's get back to work. And I'm working on waterproofing, putting in the power winch today. We actually put it in, and then we realised that we actually had to pull it out to drill holes to get it to bolt in with plenty of sealant around it to stop it leaking into the back of the helm cabinet. So we had a bit of an issue the other day. I came in, and because the winches are on an angle, there was a little bit of water leaking in through here. So I've dismantled the whole thing, and that is where the power winch fits. Now, the problem with that power winch, it's got a keyway in it, and they're stinkers to fit, particularly because it's about 9 feet to the floor. I have to put my foot up on this shelf here like this and balance myself to get right up in there. But it is good access once it's actually installed. But for now, I'm just going to get the actual thing mounted with the Sikaflex and try to get the keyway back in before I go and do up all of the nuts and bolts. It's a bit of a process, but anyway, we'll get on to that pretty much as soon as the sun gets off it, and hopefully get that sealed up so it will leak no more. Those other 2 bolts there are the top 2 bolts off our 45 Lumar 45 ST, and they were leaking too because I didn't actually put in enough Sikaflex and seal it. And now this is actually bone dry up in here. This is where our NMEA and everything is, and obviously our steering and the like. So, well, the commute's certainly getting interesting. Some days are just not as great as others. I've got my solar panels. I've got 2 big solar panels, and they're only 250 watts, but they're fixed. So we should get good efficiency out of these, and that's going to be my 2 main ones up on each side at this stage. That'll be the beginning of a build of our complete solar system. We're probably going to have around about 1400 watts. I think that'll be more than enough for our needs. We can always add some later on onto the top of the davits, but I've strapped them onto the front of the tender here. I've got to go down the river here every morning. The only thing is you've got to watch the tide, because down here it gets pretty shallow and muddy, and you come in the low tide like I've been doing the last couple of days, and you're in about a foot of mud before you get into the sand. But anyway, we'll get this down to the boat, get them unloaded, and then I can think about how I'm going to install them. Certainly a different style of commute these days, and some of the logistics are almost as difficult as building the boat itself. But anyway, we're getting there. We're just taking stuff down, bring stuff back as I don't need it, and yeah, at least the view's better. I don't have to look at the mechanics across the road because they're ugly bastards. Well, that was fun. It wasn't actually that hard to get off. I don't know how I'm going to get them off yet. I'll worry about that a bit later. I'll just leave them there for the moment. Get myself sorted, get a coffee on. That's the most important thing of the day, is to get started with the coffee. I've got a bit wet coming down with the rain, but it's not too bad. So good access into every single component of the boat is so important. What I've actually chosen to do is fit one of these removable hatches in a very difficult area, and that is down here in the portside head. I've got a big hole here which I need to get access to all of the plumbing, which is the siphon vent and the Y valve that's in there as well. So I need a removable hatch. These, I've got another one down there in the shower. They are designed only to be used on a vertical surface, but obviously for waterproofing, but above the toilet it's not going to be an issue. But I'm just trying to get access to absolutely everything I can within one spot, rather than having multiple hatches down that center there, and that hatch is going to fit straight in there and fill a really good void. I've got got a lot going on here at the moment, lots of pipes and tubes and stuff everywhere, and I'm still working on the boat, obviously, pretty much every day now. And I'm finding that by the time I get down here and get started, I just need to come in, have a few jobs lined up, and once I get a roll, I'm good. And I'm really enjoying the lifestyle of being on the boat. It's a vastly different life from living in the dust and the dirt and the shit that I had to deal with up in the factory. And I had it good. I was on a concrete slab. I feel for anyone that's working on gravel or dirt or outside, even worse. It is. At least I had my big canopy over me for the 7 years that I built the boat, and I was able to stay relatively sane. I think I'd go nuts if I had to deal with what I see a lot of people building their boats in, old chook sheds, and God, it's just absolutely soul destroying. But I'm pretty well set. Now this morning I came down with my solar panels, and I've got 2 massive solar panels there on the boat there. They're going to provide a big thump of energy to the boat, and one of which I'm going to plan to have on top of the helm station hardtop here. It's going to fit there on the other side. I've deliberately made room for that there, and the other one will be over here on this side here. Now I do need to plan for where the traveller sits up there as well, and obviously the routing of the line. So I don't want to go mounting it too far back to interfere with that particular conundrum that I'm going to have, where I'm going to have lines running back to a turning block or back to a deck organiser, and then back here to my upper winch, basically here. So there's lots to think about when you're planning the solar, and obviously how you're going to route the lines as well, which is very important. Those electrical cables, they're actually going to route up through this pole and out through a waterproof connector onto the deck. And I've also come up with what I think is a really good solution. I see a lot of boats, and I see a lot of different ideas, particularly on YouTube, and that's the beauty of YouTube, is you get to see a lot of different ideas. A Vision 444 or 444 boat, I actually saw the guys are now using starport, Railblazer starports, to mount their solar panels. So I've gone along that route. I actually ordered some aluminium mounts to go with the panels, and when they arrive, they're just shitty sheet aluminium, and although they look good, they're going to be a toe breaker, and they're very hard to remove. You can't actually take them off easily. So what I've done is I've come up with the concept of the starports that the Vision boats use, and I do love that because it means I can just unclick it and lift the whole panel off, clean underneath it, replace the panel if necessary, and then put it back down in exactly the same spot. And that's just such a great solution, and provided, and the good thing about it is there's no rust. They're basically fiberglass reinforced composite, just like True Design, and hopefully because they're underneath the actual panel, they won't be exposed to too much UV. So there's a really good reason why I've gone with that idea, and I've basically spent last night rigging up both of the panels to accommodate the adapter that fits into the starports, and I'll show you through that a bit later on.